Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Alexis Anderson. I'm the Scholarships Administrator here at the National Society of High School Scholars. Welcome to our 2025 Surviving Freshman Year webinar. This webinar is intended to kind of give some tips and tricks to high school students or maybe college freshmen or parents who are going through this process for the first time and are a little overwhelmed. Maybe you don't know what to expect or where to start. So hopefully we'll have some good insights for you. I'm joined today by some of our lovely Collegiate Council members. If you're not familiar, the Collegiate Council is an NSHSS leadership group. These are current college students who have been active in our community and in their own communities and have served as leaders and mentors to younger students and just their peers in general. These students are in college, like I said, so they have some really good firsthand insight on all of these things. So just some quick things that we're going to cover. Academics, the ins and outs of how to register for your classes, what housing looks like at different universities and what your options are, the different ways that you can get involved on campus and different resources that your campuses might offer, and then just some tips and tricks to transitioning to living alone and being on campus and staying safe. We will have an opportunity at the end to do a Q&A, so if you have any questions, drop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the very end. So I'll move on and introduce some of our panelists. So first up, we've got Chase Hartman. Chase is an entrepreneur and a freshman at the University of Florida studying business administration through the honors program. At 10 years old, Chase co-founded a book distribution project, Read Repeat, which eventually developed into a nonprofit called Eco Brothers. He focused on improving literacy rates and distribute over 225,000 books to 65,000 students in Hillsborough County, Florida, and all 50 states. He advocates for more diverse and dual language books in schools and has raised $175,000 for literacy and the environment and has provided 10,000 service hours to teens. Chase was awarded the 2022 Be More grant from NSHSS for his efforts with diverse and dual language books. Additionally, Chase is proud of his involvement as an Eagle Scout, gold medal congressional medalist, congressional intern for Kathy Caster, a 2024 Coca-Cola Scholar, and thoroughly enjoys engaging with and serving as a mentor in organizations such as Civics Unplugged, the Riley's Way Foundation, and the Sunshine Education Foundation. He hopes to continue uplifting his community through education-based service initiatives by pursuing consulting, possibly in the nonprofit space in the future. Welcome, Chase. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got Jordan Tolbert. Jordan is currently a marketing student at Central Georgia Technical College and is looking to graduate in the class of 2026. He is currently part of many college organizations such as the CGTC Gaming Club, a member of the Distinguished Black Gentlemen's, and a part of the Professional of Mentor Georgia Advisory Board, where he assists teachers, parents, and mentors around the state of Georgia develop their mentoring ability through presentations, seminars, and sessions. He joined NSHSS in 2019 while in high school, became a member of the Ambassador Program, and once graduated, moved on to be a member of the Collegiate Council Program and now serves as one of our executive board members in the Collegiate Council. He was awarded the 2022 Outstanding NSHSS Ambassador Award and continues to stay an engaged member of our organization. In his free time, he enjoys working out, skateboarding, playing sports, and volunteering with local organizations in his community. Welcome, Jordan. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, and finally, we've got Miralise Dickens-Moore. Miralise is a senior at Middle Georgia State University in Macon, Georgia, graduating this spring, as well as a Collegiate Council Executive Board member. Her major is in New Media and Communications with a concentration in Public Relations. In Miralise's current role as assistant to the AD of Greek Life and Community Service, she assists with creating events and opportunity to bridge her university to its surrounding communities and further. Miralise holds an internship with her university's Office of Marketing and Communication. She is actively involved in multiple clubs on campus, such as Senior Student Leadership and president of her campus's Activities Board. She has also acted as a leader for her university's Alternative Break Experience program. Miralise is currently helping develop her department prepare for multiple events such as Day of Service, Volunteer Fair, Student Leadership Conference, and Alternate Spring Break. Thank you so much to all of our Collegiate Council that are joining us tonight. They're all very, very involved, very smart students. They'll have a lot of great stuff for you. I'll turn it over to Chase to get us started with the academics portion.
Yes, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm super excited to talk to you guys today, specifically about academics. So, just to go over a few tips, the first one is to really get to know your professors, instructors, and TAs. The connections you make in the classroom can be networking opportunities for the years to come. And this is so important not only to reach out to your personal professors that you have for the classes that you're scheduled at in the start of the year, but also to reach out to random professors that you might not have met before. I've made so many connections with professors, last semester and a few this semester, just through setting up a few coffee chats or going to their office hours, and it's really made a big difference in even the classes that I'm scheduling for next semester, some of the clubs that I'm, looking to join my sophomore year. It really makes a big difference when you're able to get to know people who are already involved in the school in so many different departments, and to really just get that insight on maybe how you can help them out, how you can get more involved. They not only teach the classes, but a lot of professors at every single university are very involved in a lot of clubs as well, and will be able and a lot of events as well, so they'll be able to guide you in the right direction in many different areas, while you're at school. Definitely attend all classes every week, and I would add on to that by challenging you to schedule some classes that might not be very comfortable for you, as far as time. I've purposefully last semester did not schedule myself in a lot of earlier classes because no one wants to do that. But this semester, I and next semester, when I'm planning to schedule my classes, I am, trying to put myself in earlier classes because it really challenges yourself to um, get stuff done. It really motivates you as well to, after your class, not just go back to your dorm and go to bed. You can, go to the library, go, have a coffee chat with the professor, do kind of more productive things. It's definitely more motivating. And, a lot of people don't want to do it. So you'll also, get ahead with your goals and, accomplishing what you want to do while you're at university. The third one is to find studying tactics that work well for your learning style. I to add on to that as well, I think a lot of professors provide their own practice tests or flashcards. Maybe not directly. Some of them include it in their Canvas page, but a lot of them also might be able to provide you some study tactics if you have more of a personal relationship with them. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out to your professors or TAs for that extra help. Definitely attend their office hours, their study review sessions, and form some study groups, especially if there's older and more experienced students in some of the classes that you schedule, especially your first semester. Really, lean onto them and don't be afraid to ask for help from those older students because they have been through a few semesters and know kind of what might be best for you. College is definitely very different than high school, and as far as kind of studying for exams and stuff, and you definitely don't want to procrastinate when you're studying, because that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people cram, and a lot of people um, find themselves starting some of the course content even a week or two before the exam, actually is. And I don't recommend that. I recommend really staying on top of your work and really making sure that you're asking questions, as they introduce new topics instead of asking questions right at the last minute, because that's not a good strategy. Definitely focus on your mental health. Do things such as exercise, having a good diet. It's things that these are things that people might struggle with in college, and having a very strong network, even a study group, to really talk about how you guys are keeping on top of your schedule or keeping healthy, and even exercising. I think that would be really good to have. Even joining a sports club or joining a mental health club would be very valuable as well. Time management is super important, and it's something that I definitely struggled with my first semester of college. And it takes a while to kind of adjust to what, you're used to in high school because classes are different. You might only have one class one day and then three classes the next day, and you might find yourself walking all over campus to go to those classes. So it's very different. So really try to get used to your schedule at the start of the semester and especially plan out when you're going to study. We recommend studying at least 2 hours per credit or unit per week. And the higher the number of credits slash hours, the greater the challenge usually is. So that not only mean the credits not only mean how much class time you might have per week, but it also might mean how much you need to study per week because usually when there's more class time, there's more work slash homework. Yes, and then these are some really great websites and tools that you can use to kind of get on top of your studying or to, better your schoolwork. I think Grammarly is a really great one that I utilize because um, you don't want to directly use websites such as ChatGPT to write a lot of your papers. You want to still practice your writing skills, but get that immediate feedback from platforms like Grammarly that do provide just little tweaks to your paper that can really make a big difference and make your writing sound more formal. A quiz it's also really great. You can also find a lot of great resources if you kind of, a lot of schools might have specific study sets for that specific school. And a lot of other, if you're in a study group for a specific class, they might make some flashcards and you might be able to utilize them from, that study group that you have. And then Khan Academy, learning assistance, and especially on-campus tutoring is something that I've utilized in the past, especially last semester studying for exams. And on my campus specifically, there's also clubs that provide um, kind of tutoring or study sessions. And I'm in the business school specifically as well, and they provide direct one-to-one tutoring whenever you want. You can kind of step into an office if you have, a question about a specific subject, you can go to that specific person that's kind of specialized in that subject and kind of work with them to see what, just kind of working through how to better your paper, or how to better your projects, or just even how to complete an assignment. So definitely right when you get into school, kind of become familiar with what resources are available to you, and also try to utilize online platforms such as Grammarly and Quizlet as well.
Jordan, I'll pass it over to you.
All right, all right. Hello, everyone. We'll move over to registering for classes, which is a huge part of being in college, more than you would expect. I've had some horror stories when it comes to registering. The first off, with the first tip, we have register for classes based on your personal learning experience. So it's important that before you come in, you understand your learning style and the best way you retain information and what works best for you. There's always, virtual versus in person. For those who are, who prefer to have a more flexible schedule, those who want to, have a little bit more freedom, a virtual class might be more up your alley. You might want to be able to, go back and look at old virtual classes and things of that nature. Or for those who need an in-person experience, maybe some hands-on, more, physical type information to help you learn, and you might want to consider more in-person classes than virtual classes. They also have large lecture versus small class size. I find this one really depends on your university or wherever you go. Some larger schools, you're not going to have as many small class sizes just because of like the insane amount of students there. So I mean, there, whenever you register, they'll always let you know like the max amount of students and how many people are in there. So just, I say it's important. Maybe, take a look at that. See like this class is only going to have 15 people, whereas another class might have 60. And if you're the type to really want like a small class size where everyone kind of knows each other, then you might want to look for one of those smaller classes. And if it's not that big of an issue for you and you don't mind the lecture or the larger size classes, then you can go for one of those. And then, like Chase was saying, be very adamant about the time of your class. Just because you got up at 8 a.m. for high school does not mean you're going to want to get up at 8 a.m. in college. I promise you. I feel like everyone tells themselves, like, I've done it for 12 years of my life. I can do it again. It's not going to be the same because you won't have your mom and you won't have your dad and you won't have people waking you up. It will be on you to get there. And when it's up to you, it's a little harder. So just be adamant. Are you a morning person? Do you want those morning classes? Or if you know that, you're not the best person in the morning, like me, you might want to go for some afternoon classes and do something a little different. And that's completely fine. It's just important that you know that when you go into the registering process. Get to know your advisor. Your advisor is going to be your best friend. They are going to be able to tell you not only what classes you should be looking at now, but also the classes that you're going to want to look at in the future in the oncoming years. So getting to know your advisor, making sure that you can readily get it, available to them is extremely important. Due to one of my tips, I think it's very important, and I made sure to write it down, that you know when the registration dates open. Because when you are at a big university, and I can't stress it enough, classes will fly. You will be like, oh, I got this perfect schedule. everything's set out. I'm going to do this, my sophomore year and this my senior year. You'll get there and your class won't even be there. Like it will be full, it'll be gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I think it's super important to know your advisor, know their email or know their number so that you can get in touch with them super quickly. Because when it comes time to register, you won't have an abundance amount of time. It's important that you know that the date and the time and when you're good to start registering so that you can jump on top of it as well. Know like important information like your student ID number. Your ID number is going to be used everywhere, whether you're going into your dorm, your housing, or going out to eat, or like on college or on campus events. Like you're gonna want to know your ID number for important events like that. And then, like I just said, specific registration dates and times. It is super, super, super important that you know when you need to go, because I mean, it's a horror story for everyone who knows, but you'll get up there and you will not be able to get into your classes, and it will like throw off your entire beautiful plan that you set up. And I'd rather y'all learn from my mistake than deal with it yourselves. And then students' responsibility for drop, and withdraw from classes. It's important that you understand the difference between dropping and withdrawing from a class. If you withdraw with a W, that is when so there's a time frame that you're able to schedule for a class and drop that class without technically failing the class. This is an add drop period. Within the add drop period, you're allowed to drop and add classes frequently as you want without like having any penalty of it. After that add drop time passes, if you drop a class, it will reflect on your GPA. And that's something that you don't want to do. So it's just extremely important that when you go to college, you understand dates and times and like the period of time you have to do certain things, because if you do it outside of that time, it can really affect you in the future. And then we can move to
And I actually want to jump in after Jordan. Those add drop periods, all those dates, you really need to have those on lock. Cause like my school, they actually broke it down into days. So like if you're classified as a senior, you automatically get first pick of classes. Freshmen normally go last, which normally means you need to be focused on your core classes, or if you really want like certain classes, you need to be in touch with your advisor. You need to be communicating with your advisor. When I was in my freshman year, I was emailing if I knew registration for spring semester was like the week of October 12th or something like that. I'd email her the week before and be like, hey, we need to have a meeting so I can figure out my classes. And so you know what classes I want. That way, when you're allowed to register me, all of that is out the way. You never want to have to worry about, like Jordan said, you having this perfect plan and then turning around and being like, I don't have my classes anymore. And another thing I wanted to hit on was like getting to know your advisors. That goes hand in hand with what Chase was talking about with getting to know your professors. Depending on your school size, like my school size is considered medium to small, depending on the semester. Some of our professors double as advisors. Networking with those professors helps you to get to know your advisors and get to know what classes you need to take. And if you're one of those people that you see a class that you want to take and you're like, oh, that's the class I want, network with those professors. Like, as a media and communications major, I know my entire department, and I've always known my entire department because I would see 3,000, 4,000 level classes, and I'm like, I want to take those, but you can't take them unless you have the prerequisites. Networking with professors and advisors can get you in, like, can open those doors for you. So it's always good to communicate, especially with people on the academic side.
And before you move on, I had like two tips that like were on here that I think are super, super important. One of them is there is a website called Rate My Professor. Please look at Rate My Professor. Rate My Professor, you can put a professor's name and the school in, and it gives you like a list of reviews that students themselves, not like the colleges, the students who took the class, they leave reviews and they tell you what they thought about the class, whether it was hard, whether it was long, whether they liked the professor or not. This is extremely important because even sometimes if you have like a bad time for the class, a professor has made my class. Like I've had professors that have made my class super, super like well easy to learn the information, a lot easier, a lot more simpler. I've had some professors, who've just made it a little bit more difficult, maybe like a little bit more of a stressful time. So a lot of people will do like their classes based off the time alone. Please check the professor because it might be a great time, but you might have a difficult professor that will just make it such an stressful experience. So make sure to check the professor as well. I had one more, and then also understand the difference between a GPA and your SAP. Your SAP is your satisfactory academic progress. The difference between your GPA is based off every class that you finish and the grade that you get on it, and then obviously that's like 4.0 to a 0. Your SAP is the completion rate of your classes. So we talked about how you have an add drop period and how if you drop a class and get a W, it doesn't affect your GPA. Well, if you drop a class, regardless of if it affects your GPA, it will affect your SAP. And you have to complete a certain number of classes every time you take credits. And if you fall below that line, you will not be allowed financial aid or any type of scholarships or anything like that. It was a big thing with my college journey that I didn't know about because no one had ever told me about it. And when I'm like, oh no, I dropped the class in the correct period, like it shouldn't affect me. When in reality, I was dropping too many classes and my SAP dropped too low. So you can't get any type of financial aid or anything like that. So if you like can write that down when you go, you can talk to your advisor about it. You can ask, what's my SAP progress currently? What can I not drop? What can I not drop? And just make sure that like, all your funding and everything like that is okay. But I just wanted to say those two before.
And real quickly before you switch to the next one, about like keeping up with your SAP, that's another thing that you can hold yourself accountable for. My school, and I'm quite sure all schools do this, we have platforms where you could go in and you could register for classes for yourself. You go in and view your degree progress. For my school, you could go in and like order official transcripts, view unofficial transcripts. For my school, it tells us our SAP progress every time we log in. So if we want to look at our unofficial transcript, it'll tell you this is what you're looking like for your degree. If we want to look at our degree audit and like what classes we've taken so far, what classes we still need, it'll tell you this is done like you're 97% done with your requirements, but you still have like 93% of credits you need to complete. And all of that, you need to keep an eye on all of that, especially your SAT, because it'll throw you all off, and then you get to graduation and you're like, "Wait." Or you get to the next semester and it's time for the government and it's time for the school to pull the money and you're like, "Wait." So these are all things you can hold yourself accountable for not only your advisor, but for yourself.
Okay, so before we totally pivot, can each of you kind of tell me what the difference is in the workload between high school and college? Because given that a lot of our students, and I'm sure all of you were super, super involved in high school and, balancing your academics in high school, but when you get to college, it's really a totally different world. So can you kind of talk about that adjustment period, what the difference is, and just how you've navigated that? Chase, do you want to start?
Sure, I think it's definitely a lot more flexible, and I think that could be a positive or a negative depending on, how you handle it. I would say for me right now, I have a mix of in-person and online classes, and I think the workload also varies in that way because for my in-person classes, you do a little bit of work in class and also out of class, but there's also lectures for in-person classes, and then you kind of leave and do assignments there as well. For my online classes, it's really kind of self-guided, so you don't necessarily watch lectures. You kind of just get things to read or watch and have work to do based off of that. But I think the reason why I say it's just super flexible is because um, you decide when you study. So you can wake up at 8 a.m. and study before your classes. You can do, spend 6 hours in the library at night. Whatever you need to do to get your assignments done, but also make sure you're doing extra and studying as well. And I think that's a part that a lot of people miss, especially because they don't have their exams in the front of their mind. They only have the assignments that they have to do in the front of their mind, and really just think about the exams maybe the week before it pops up. So I think to really be proactive on kind of managing your workload throughout the semester, I think, you should always spend a little bit more time and leave a little bit more time to study every single week instead of leaving that right till the end of the semester when you have a final exam or when you have a midterm, a few months into the semester. So
All right, I guess I'll go. Yeah, I feel like he said majority of it, but like it's honestly just the fact that like you're like it's everything about your life is gonna become so like flexible and it will constantly be changing. I think the most thing about it is like your ability to adapt to it because like every semester is not going to be the same. I feel like high school is super structured. You take 7 classes and you graduate, and you take 7 more classes and you'll graduate. You'll take 7 more classes, and then you have homework and this and that. With college, like one semester you might have 3 classes, and another semester you'll have 5 classes, and then those 3 classes could be 2 hours, or another one could be 4 hours, and like it's just gonna you gotta understand it's gonna be moving around a lot, which again, like he said, is a good or a bad thing, depending on how well you deal with that and use your time. So I say the workload it doesn't necessarily increase, but it also doesn't decrease. It just changes and it requires you to be a little bit more adaptable to be able to, take what you have and learn a proper way to, distribute it and the time management and everything like that. So it's just important to know that, every semester is going to be different and that's okay, but just learning how to adjust every time you need to is an important quality to learn and grow with.
Yeah, I completely agree with Jordan and Chase. Like, it's definitely flexible in the best ways, but also in some of the not best ways too, because flexible doesn't just mean like coursework when you start the semester. It could mean in the beginning of the semester. Some colleges may do short sessions, which are like half semesters, and the semester is already like 18 or 20 weeks or something like that, or and your class will only be 10 weeks. And then you have to pivot because then your coursework is changing. And so it'll always be flexible, it will always be changing. And if I had one tip, I just say keep an eye on everything. Like one thing I do is I put all my work into like a master planner so I can have an eye on everything and see it in its whole rather than just seeing it in pieces. Because my school uses D2L, and while it's not the best, we still like it'll notify us. And even with notifications, it's still good. Even with the system notifying us, it's still good to be able to have my own in it and say, okay, I just finished this assignment. 1100. I know this assignment is gonna come up next. So I just say, like, really keep an eye on everything.
All right, we'll move to housing. So, most colleges and universities provide a resource for finding nearby off campus housing. Check the housing or the student webpage. Housing is going to be awesome. You're all fresh, you're going to be freshmen. And for the majority of universities, they require you to be on campus your first year, I'm pretty sure. So, this is probably something you all will have to experience. Being on campus is going to have it's gonna be a lot of fun. I promise you, like it's gonna be an experience. I feel like a lot of people tend to get nervous, especially if you haven't been away from home a lot and different environment. And some people are scared about a roommate. I just say, be open minded. It's really gonna be like the most fun ever. I just like to think about it like a long term summer camp. That's what I told myself when I went for my first semester. I'm like, it's just a long term summer camp, and I'm just gonna be open to all experiences. We have the graph here. They say the social atmosphere will be a lot higher on campus and off campus. I feel like this isn't going to be as much for y'all to worry about because majority of y'all will be on campus. But it's just something to think about in the future. On campus will be a lot more safer, understand, and when you get there, they're going to throw a lot of information at y'all. but understand that some of the information you really want to retain, especially with on-campus police, any type of security or anything of that nature. Most colleges have their own number for their own security apart from like the usual 911. You want to learn that as well. There are a lot of what my school has is they have these long pole towers that like have blue lights at the top of them, and you can click the button and someone will automatically come help you. So like when you go, just familiarize yourself with the environment. Know that if there is any type of situation, hopefully there's not, but if there is, you know what to do, and you know like what you can do to get out of a situation like that. There will be little privacy because you will most likely be sharing a room, but that's okay. It's not a bad thing. Like I said, it's an open experience. It's something different. Whereas off campus in the future, we'll have a lot more privacy. Independence will be a little less because you will be around a lot of people. I feel like it's a good opportunity to make new friends, grow lifelong, relationships. So that's super good. You will be close to campus. Take advantage of that because a lot of times, I don't recommend it, but there are some 10-minute wake ups before class. And if you need to run, you can run on campus, but you can't run off campus. So take advantage of being on campus. Don't use it badly though. Please get to your classes early and on time, but you can get to your classes a lot faster. And then maintenance and everything will be a lot easier on campus. Um, if I had any other tips, be very quick about housing. Again, if you're at a big university, housing will also fly like classes. And it was a major problem I had my freshman year when I was trying to get housing, and I was like number 500 on the waiting list. And when you see 500, you don't think you're going to get any housing, but it does trickle down over time. But just be very adamant, be very, on time about everything you do in college because you got to understand there are thousands of other students trying to do the same thing that you are. So just be on time when the housing portal opens, check it, take every appliance, everything you get with it. Well, they also have the meal plan. If you're doing meal plan, get a good grasp of, how it works. Do you have dollars or, can you have certain number of meals per day? Just I feel like it's mainly just getting adequated with your space and just learning about it over time. It's not something to stress about because you will get used to it over time. You just have to give it time. And then, like I said, just continue. If you, as long as you're open about the experience and you're just there to enjoy it and take it for everything that it is, I feel like everything will come to you.
Yeah, definitely. And another note I wanted to make really quickly was, like Jordan said, make sure you stay on top of your information. They're gonna throw a lot of it at you, but if you could try to at least retain some of that information, you'll more than likely be okay. And one of the things I wanted to hit on was meal plan. Even if, like, for some schools, this is a part of the information you should probably pay attention to if you know like your class days are going to be long and you're going to like stay on campus like for longer hour periods at a time. Check your campus. It's more than likely going to be culinary services or auxiliary services, and see if they have what they call a commuter meal plan. So our meal plans break down into 19, 15, and 10 for on campus, but even for commuters, they could get 15 or 10 meals per week if they like just add it to their tuition and fees. So that's another thing that like even if you decide, okay, I'm gonna live off of campus or I'm gonna live at home and just commute, that's another thing that you could kind of keep an eye on to kind of just have that information.
And quickly, just a little tidbit, you're going to get sick. Bring cold medicine. Bring a lot of it. Bring any type of medicine because when you're sick, you're not going to want to go to the grocery store. And I promise you, no one wants to get sick, but you're on a campus near millions and thousands of students. Bring cold medicine, please. You're going to thank me later.
Yeah, the freshman flu is a real thing. It really is. So I know you guys are all kind of at different universities. So can you kind of explain what your experience has been like living on campus, off campus, if you've done a little bit of both? Whoever wants to start can go ahead.
I'll go first since I'm like actively in my dorm room right now. So my housing experience has been kind of here or there. For my university, we have on my campus rather because we have multiple campuses, we have freshman housing and then we have sophomore and higher. So of course, freshman housing, like the moment you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to this school, that is the dorm hall you go into. And it's more like a community than anything. Like they have living learning communities. If you're on a sports team, you're more than likely in that building so you can stay with your team and build those connections. If you're in one of our leadership programs, then you'll more than likely be in that building. And that was a good experience for me. I had the best freshman experience, in my opinion, because I really didn't have a roommate. I had suite mates instead. And that was okay with me because living in a space with another human being is something you have to get used to, especially if you don't know that person and you only have a couple weeks to get to know them before you're in this space for the next 9 months. Um, After my freshman year, I ended up taking a summer semester, and for my summer semester, I ended up moving into our apartment housing because I was officially a sophomore. In apartment housing, you get the opportunity to lower your meal plan and go grocery shopping and cook in your dorm room and just have your own bathroom, your own closet, your own room to yourself and just have that experience. And it's really been great for me to build that community and go to housing events. Even your housing department may hold events sometimes to kind of get you excited about living on campus or meeting your resident assistants, which are your RAs. They'll be everywhere. Rely on your RAs. If you need to call your RA for something, they are there for that. Like, call them. But I kind of do feel like my campus experience is unique only because, like, I have rarely ever been home because I take summer semesters and I am, like, so integrated with my school life and my campus life. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say for me personally, I am in an on-campus dorm right now. And I think, and I'm moving to an apartment next year. And I think a big thing for me that was really attractive about an apartment was that privacy and that kind of convenience that, um, I have a parking garage for my car for whenever I need to drive home. It's right there instead of, a parking garage that's a little bit farther as compared to the one that I use right now on campus. And I'm able to cook by myself and kind of have my own bathroom, have that own space. I think that's something that I've seen is more convenient, but I think that when I move into my apartment, there's going to be less of a community in that building as compared to some of the on-campus places. Right now, there's a bunch of kind of the Inter-Residential Housing Association here at UF hosts a bunch of events, especially around some of the um, kind of like housing groups that we have on campus, and they give things like free gelato and we had a water slide at the start of the year. So there's fun things like that where you can meet a lot of people that live in the buildings around you that are not going to be offered at my, apartment that I'm living in. So if you really value that community, it's really great to live on campus, especially if, you have the option to and you're not being forced to. I definitely recommend living on campus at least your first year of college because that's where you're going to meet a lot of people. And, it's really convenient when you can, easily hang out with a lot of people or study with a bunch of people that live in your same building as you. And it's really great just for that community. But, the privacies and kind of the convenience is really why I'm moving off campus as well.
Yeah, I feel like they answered like the majority of it, but like I just like to like say like you're in college, like you finally out of high school. Like I feel like I say it all the time, but it's like take the experience for what it is. All of my core friends lived in my building. Like Marilis was saying, the majority of the times they'll have a freshman building specifically for freshmen, and we all didn't know what we were doing. We were all lost. We were all confused in a new area. I feel like take the commonality and build off of it. When you get to wherever you're going, for the majority, the people around you are going to be just as lost as you are. And that's okay. I feel like you can use that to make friends. Being on campus is an experience. Like, I think I had an awesome freshman year too, just like doing absolutely everything and anything. It was just so much fun. Take it for what it is. Being close to your classes and everything. I also agree with Chase. I say for the freshman year, it's really good to live on campus for the first time because I feel like it gives you the opportunity to learn the campus. Because when you like move off and you get an apartment or whatever, you won't necessarily be on campus as much because you'll be trying to go home. But when you stay on campus, it gives you the opportunity to learn more about the campus, see where everything is, know like where all the important spots are, so that when you do eventually move off or do whatever you end up doing for your housing, you'll have a familiarity of the environment that you're in. But I think it's amazing. I had a great first semester, first 2 semesters.
Yeah, I very much agree with you, Jordan. There's never going to be another time in your life when you're living in one building with a bunch of people that are your age, that are all looking for friends. That kind of stuff doesn't happen later on in life, and it becomes a lot harder to make those kinds of connections later on in your life. Not saying that you can't make friends out of college, you definitely can, but it's just a really unique experience. Some of my best friends were my roommates in college. My freshman year roommate in college, she has been one of my best friends forever. And if you're not familiar, if you're scared about getting a random roommate, there's a lot of services like websites and stuff that's kind of like a dating profile for college roommates. Your university probably has a roommate matching service on there that you can try out. There's also some like other third-party ones where you can just like put your university and then you take a little quiz like I'm super neat or I stay up really late and you can find roommates that way. So take advantage of those resources too if you're a little nervous about, you know, finding a random roommate because that can be intimidating, but it is a really good experience and I think you should take advantage of it while you have the chance. All right, we can move on.
Okay, guys, so we're going to transition into student or campus life. It may vary on what it's called depending on your campus. But like was said in my introduction, this is kind of where I live. I am the president of my campus's campus activities board, which we help the students have a voice and plan things for their campus life, their everyday. So attend your school's activity fair. Our school calls it a student expo, and it is the point where all of our registered student organizations or RSOs, they come to one place and have a giant like showcase basically on what their club is, what their club can provide you. They give you an opportunity to sign up for their club and just kind of showcase what new things are on campus or what things are on campus that you can just join and be a part of to reinforce your college experience. Another thing that really helped me in housing was having somebody that was in some of the same organizations I was in. So this can range from student leadership to anything activity based to academic based like English studies or history studies or even tabletop gaming and Dungeons and Dragons. Any organization that appeals you, join it. Like our school in particular, we have an actual website built around this in particular. You can scroll through our website and find any organization. We have more than 150 organizations. Most schools do, and if they don't have one, if you find people that have similar goals for an organization as you can even start one if you have an academic advisor. And when it comes to the time you commit to an organization, it's okay if you're not fully committed to that organization, especially in your freshman year. They understand that you're trying to get acclimated to your new environment. They understand you're trying to focus on your classes. It's okay to like not be in every meeting or not go to every event they have. It's okay to focus on you and focus on your academics and kind of lock yourself down before you start adding things to your plate. So these are the type of orgs or organizations that we have. So one thing I just hit on was registered student organizations and then registered college organizations. So like I said, if you ever have an interest for a club that is not really hasn't been started yet or has maybe been started but probably gone dormant, if you can gather a couple students and find a faculty member that will serve as your advisor, you can get that started or you could get that started back up again. Um, Registered college and university organizations. So this is stuff like history studies, math studies, English studies. They're going to be associated with the department. Like I have a public relations organization, and it's normally integrated with an department or a major or minor or concentration, and they are there as academic support, and they have the university support to throw events and all of the above. So all the different organization types: academic and educational, community service, media and publication, political, recreation, student government, religious, co-curricular is stuff that is that's going to be more under your registered college and university organization, stuff that is integrated with your departments or your majors or things like that. We went over academic and educational. Community service. This could be anything from um, just like contributing here and there to the university or the community around you. Because my mascot is the Knights, we have something called the Knights Community Crew, and we come together to build community service opportunities for our university, so people have that option. Media and publication, this could be your school paper, this could be working with your communications department on campus to do like school social media or take pictures for events or things like that. Recreation, if your school has a rec or anything like that or a wellness center, they more than likely have intramural sports on top of any other like university like affiliated sports they might have. They more than likely have any type of club or intramural sports, and that's another option. Student government. Student government is just like your campus activities board or whatever your university may call it, and that's really to be a voice for the students. Student government will work directly with your university's president to get things done. So if students are complaining about the way certain things are done on campus, they go to their student government and is like, hey, next time you meet with our president, this is some things we want you to bring up. And then, like I said, pay attention to when they're giving you information and orientation. I know our orientation always talks about the fact that we have presence or involve, or it may be different for different universities. And that is the database they use to hold all event dates, all clubs and organizations, just everything under one roof. So it's easier for students to access and pick what they want to do.
Quickly, just to add to it, I have two things. One, for those who are scared and maybe like are the ones who are struggling to be like, I think it's gonna be a hard time making friends or just like meeting people with like-minded type of ideals and things of that nature. I feel like these groups, these student life opportunities and these organizations are like another great way to make friends apart from like I said, my freshman like building, the other group of friends that like were my super close friends were the ones that I was in an organization with. And we just I mean the fact that we had joined an organization with a similar goal just showed like we had similar mindset, we had similar interests and things like that. So if that's something that's making you nervous, that you're scared about meeting new people and just putting yourself out there, I feel like join an organization and watch how that gives you the opportunity to make friends. And then another thing that I told myself that I would do when I went to college is that I said I would pick one organization that I never thought I'd join, and I would like go to an info meeting or I would go to an event just because why not? I remember I joined the jujitsu club, never fought, wrestled, punched anything in my life, but I was like, that sounds super cool. Let me go to a jujitsu meeting, and I met like the coolest guys. Most of the guys had never hit or wrestled either, and we were just all kind of there figuring it out. So I feel like it's another opportunity to just kind of put yourself out there and maybe discover something that you never thought you would like.
Yeah, I'd also love to add, definitely don't be afraid to reach out to people that you know might be in a club that you're really looking at. I found people just on, Instagram that were tagged in maybe a club's post or even just LinkedIn to really kind of see if that opportunity would be worth it for you. Also, I agree with Jordan about kind of putting yourself in uncomfortable spaces. I'm on a it's called like the Sabor Latino dance team this semester, and I've never danced in my whole life. So, definitely try new things, push yourself out of your comfort zone because, for me personally, there's so many things that I really just want to try, and the university in just college overall is a really great place to try those things because they have the funding to do so, and they really want to support, whatever students' passions are. So really just explore anything and rely on your network and don't be afraid to reach out to literally random people if you have any questions.
Yeah, and before we move on, I also wanted to hit on some stuff we talked about earlier that um all these organizations, they can include things like study groups or mental health organizations or clubs that hold mental health events. I know we do like plate smashing. You write all your feelings out and you put it in a Ziploc bag and you throw it as far as you can just to let out all the rage, all the stress, all the anxiety. This another reason why you need to know your student ID. We at student events, they will, okay, what's your student ID? So we can sign you in, so we can make sure like we know you're here, so we can make sure we like warn you about future events on campus. And this also plays into like I know Jordan just said he joined something with jujitsu. Like some orgs focus on your safety on campus. So I know our campus, they do um a seminar organization that comes around like 2 or 3 times every semester to do like a 3-day like here's some basic defense maneuvers from when you're walking through campus at night alone and you want to be able to protect yourself. So student organizations are really just help there to help and support you. And to wrap up student life, these are some other campus resources. And I really suggest looking into these, especially like not even just for the stressful times, but even for the not stressful times, just to have that support there. Your career center, they're going to be able to help you with anything from am I doing the right major to okay, what does my LinkedIn look like? What does my professional portfolio need to look like? Oh, I have an interview coming up. How should I act? How should I present myself? Career centers are going to be really good because they're going to be able to tell you like, "Hey, this is what's going on." You can give them your resume or your cover letter or your CV and tell them, "Hey, I need to figure out how to workshop this to make it more streamlined. I need to make sure that my resume is catching eyes when I'm sending it off to employers." That is what your career center is going to be there for. For counseling services, they are normally built into your tuition and fees. They are certified licensed therapists there to help you, whether it be midterms or whether it be stuff you're experiencing outside of school and you need somebody to talk to. They are there for you. They are not there like just to be there. They are there for you and to support you and to help you and to make sure you're okay. Recreational facilities, we just talked about this. This is a good way to stay active on campus. Our gym serves not just our school, but our entire community. And so it's a great way from our pool to our track to our basketball court. It's a great way to get in activities that's not always, okay, I got to work out, I got to lift weights. We have a dance studio, we have a kickboxing studio. It's really just a space to be there and express yourself. I remember I was using counseling services and she was like, do something that's going to make you happy, that's going to help you release all that energy. And because our rec has a dance studio, I was able to go to that dance studio and say, okay, dancing is one of my safe spaces. Let me do this. These things are there to help you. Your student health center, you're more than likely going to see a health fee in your tuition and fees. This is what this is for. How Jordan and Alexis were saying you're going to get sick. Yeah, that's real. That's what they're there for. They're a basic clinic that can help you with a bunch of different things from basic cold to, okay, I think I might be feeling a little icky. Can we test for the flu? Can we test for strep? Can we test for COVID? They could do all of that. And they're there to say, okay, here's what you should do, here are what next steps are. They are not 911. If you have an emergency, please call 911, please go to a hospital. But they are there, and they will more likely have a website that says, okay, here's how you book an appointment, or here's our hours for you to walk in and say, hey, I'm feeling a little sniffle. I need to get this checked out to make sure I'm good to go to classes or to the event or just to be walking around campus. And your writing center, how we talked about academic resources, your writing center is like Grammarly on campus. When you're writing a paper or you're studying for a test, your writing center is going to be there to say, oh, hey, you're writing this paper and we see it's on this topic, but hey, a couple paragraphs down, you might not have stayed on topic. They're not there to write your papers for you, but they're there to help you streamline everything, to make sure you don't have grammatical errors, to make sure when you turn that paper in, it's going to be one of the best grades you can get on that paper. They are there to help you and support you and make sure everything is okay.
And just to emphasize super quickly, like Marilee said, each one of these things you will end up paying for. Like there is going to be a fee for it in your tuition. Use every single one of them to your heart's desire. I remember I booked two sessions with a psychologist, and I was just like, because why not? I feel like ranting today. I feel like yapping today. So I was like, I already paid for it. I might as well. And I would go to the writing center and I would handle my paper. And I was an avid basketball player and I would sprain my ankle like every other week. And student health services knew me by my face because I was always there. But just remember, like, it's going to come in your tuitions and fees somewhere. You might as well use everything that you possibly can because you're already paying for it.
Yeah, and with that, with the writing center, you should also like when they're telling you about resources on campus, look for some type of student center, or our school calls it a student success center, and it's basically a like corner in our library on the second floor of our library full of tutors for any subject you could think of. If they got an A in Com 1100, they will tutor you specifically for Com 1100. They are there, specialized, and ready to help you. And that Student Success Center is there from anything for tutoring to mentorship to, hey, I'm kind of fuzzy about these classes. Can we kind of figure out how to clear it up before I go to my advisor or before my advisor finalizes it? So always look for stuff like this on campus when you're just trying to support yourself and make sure that your academic experience, that your college experience is going okay.
Okay, so this actually ties really nicely to a question that we have in the chat. Um, what organizations are you all currently involved in? I know we touched on it a little bit, but like anything else like specifically, and how do you go about balancing that like social life and getting involved with all the extra academics and everything else that you've got going on?
I'm gonna let the guys go first if they want to, because I got to college and joined everything I could. So I'm gonna let them go first.
Okay.
Yeah, I also joined everything I could at first, and then I took a step back to really see what was going to be the most valuable for me. So the two that I'm involved in right now is Delta Sigma Pi, which is a professional business fraternity, and then Sabor Latino dance team. And so I think two for me is the perfect amount to have, especially for my freshman year, as I'm still kind of considering what I want to do with my career in business. I'm looking to join some consulting clubs next semester, but kind of how I balance that with my academics is I think a professional fraternity is a really great way to build a network and to, have some really fun kind of events. Like we have some um, like socials at Chipotle and other places throughout the business school, but we also have networking sessions with alumni that used to be in the fraternity and other really kind of professional events and always sharing internships. I think a professional fraternity is a really great way that you can do that. And also kind of balance your time with your academics. And I think one thing that I would really recommend is to keep a lookout for when a club has their general body meetings. They're usually either probably weekly or bi-weekly for most clubs. And I would say you not only have to figure out which ones you're allowed to join kind of based on the day that they have them. So you can't join two clubs that have a meeting on a Monday because they overlap. I would also kind of try to not, spending or you're not joining too many times, or you can't really kind of or do too many clubs to where you can't really balance your time because they might all be benefiting yourself and the career that you want to go into, but I think it's not and that might be good to do in high school to really get experience in a lot of different areas, but I'd say in college you definitely want to concentrate your time and your effort into a few different clubs because you'll make such a bigger impact in those groups. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do right now. And really kind of my action plan for the rest of college is to really see what are those one or two clubs that I can join to really make such like a big impact instead of kind of spreading myself out too thin.
Yeah, I feel like I did what Marilee's did. Like I've been very adamant about it. Like I joined like a million clubs and I learned that that was not the right thing to do. I still do say, try something new, join what you can join, but be very careful about your time and your schedule. I feel like it's important to, remember the main thing. You are at school to get a degree, to learn, to do your academics. And I feel like clubs should be able to balance that, but it shouldn't, it shouldn't tip it in the wrong direction. So just make sure that you're balancing that. The best way for what I did was that I would plan ahead. I would schedule like a time, and at that time, I did my homework every day. So I made it almost like a class time. Like at this time, we do homework, and the only way that I don't do homework at that time is if I made it up previously. So if I had to give like a tip, I would like schedule out your week. Like I'll take a Sunday and I'll schedule out everything to like a Friday maybe, see what everything looks like. And if I know I really want to go on an event on Thursday, but I need to get homework done on that Thursday, you know that because you took the day to look at the whole week, and you can do a little extra work on a Wednesday or on a Tuesday so that you can make up that work time so that you can go on Thursday. So I say plan ahead, know what's coming so that you can just plan accordingly. And if you do that, you should, properly be able to balance out your academics.
One thing that
Yeah,
I would just add to that is that, sorry, Marilyse.
you're
Um,
good.
when I was a freshman in college, at least this is my experience, I took pretty much all of my core classes my freshman year. And for a lot of those classes, a lot of them are very intro level classes. They're like required classes, and you're still adjusting, but your course load is a lot lighter as far as content is concerned. Your first couple semesters, your first couple years of college. So that might be a little bit easier to try to work in organizations and clubs into your schedule. And it gets a little bit harder the older that you get because your classes might require, after class, commitments, or sometimes like I had a class where every Saturday I had to go and volunteer and stuff like that. So sometimes your schedule gets a little bit more hectic. So I would say when you're looking at registering for classes and you know that this class, and this class, or maybe they're your electives, you're taking them all in one semester, so your course load isn't as heavy, that'd be a good time to try out your academics. It's really just based on your schedule and how you decide to group in your harder classes. I would typically take like two of my more difficult classes and then like one or two electives every semester so that there was balance and then still left time to do some other things. If you're taking a really content heavy course load one semester, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to make time for those organizations. So maybe you can't attend meetings for one semester and maybe one semester you can. So I think just take a look at your course load, give yourself a few weeks to get oriented and then kind of slowly work things in. Don't overload yourself too much at one time because then you'll get stressed out. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
So I first want to say before I go into like organizations and all that, that I completely agree with what all of you guys said. Like academics is priority. A lot of my clubs and organizations happen either after hours or they are built around my course schedule. So if I know I have courses like Tuesdays and Thursdays only, then I'm not gonna then I if I have English studies like Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday night, I'm gonna tell my advisor, hey, this semester I'm gonna need to take a step back because I'm not gonna skip class to come to a 30-minute meeting or a 45-minute meeting. I'm not gonna do that. Academics are priority. Um, so as far as organizations inside of university, I am, like I said, our campus activities board. I'm a part of our Black Student Unification, our English studies, our um, volunteer service, Nights Community Crew, and then our alternative breaks, which we plan service trips for alternative breaks. So last spring for spring break we went to Savannah, and fall for fall or Thanksgiving break we went to Chattanooga, and this spring break in a couple weeks we're going to Destin, Florida. And we use that opportunity to kind of not only help our community as a school but help other communities as well. And so that's kind of the gist of my active on campus organizations.
I know we touched on this a little bit, but Jordan, you want to give some other tips and tricks of how to stay safe on campus?
Yeah, just to close it out, we have campus safety tips. Know your way around campus. I feel like all of y'all are gonna be on campus a lot. Take the opportunity, just walk around. Like I'm a guy who just likes to walk. So I'll walk around and I might look in a building and just, see what's there. See, okay, there's a vending machine here and there's a, telephone pole here and I can get lunch here and I can eat here. I feel like it's good to get your just get kind of the lay of the land. I know before every semester, I take the day before classes start, and I would walk to my classes and see the room that my classes is at, so that on the first day of school, I'm not like running around trying to decipher where my class is because I previously took the time where there was no stress or anything to find where my class is. And I feel like you can do the same thing with, the lunchroom or, your dorm or the recreational area. Just, take time, find where everything is. So when you need to get there, you know where you're going. Save the campus police phone number as contact. Like I said before, it will most likely be different than the 911. 911 is for, every, general problem. But if you need something that's kind of immediate or if you need someone local in the area, you should have on campus police. Learn the number, save it so that you can call it whenever you have the chance. If you feel unsafe walking campus, ask for a campus police escort. Understand that you campus police isn't like always as serious as 911. My mom actually got our campus police number, and one time I was asleep and she was trying to get in touch with me, and she just called them and said, "Do you mind knocking on his door and just checking up on him?" And I was like, "I apologize, I was asleep." But understand, like you can, if you feel just a little unsafe, you can ask for a police escort, or if you just want a little bit of assistance with something, you can ask for police assistance. Yes, I feel like it's a lot more lenient, and it's not as like life threatening, and like you can just kind of use it for everyday type things. Use locks. We always want to think the most positive of everyone, but you are going to be around a lot of different people with their own views and their own morals. And you just want to take extra precautions to make sure that everything that you have is safe. So just when you go to the recreational lounge and you might put something in a locker, maybe bring a lock with you or lock your door before you go, just to be more on the safe side. Because any extra safety, it doesn't hurt you, just to be careful. And always inform someone you trust of where and when you are going somewhere. Me and my friends, we started a group Life 360 when we went to college, just so I always knew where they were, they knew where I was, so you can always get in contact. My parents had it, anyone, my grandma, because she was worried about me too. My grandma had it, so I just like find people that you trust and that you don't mind knowing where you are, and then just kind of share location so that if the event of anything, you have someone who knows where you are at all times, and I feel like it'll just be the best outcome for you.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to hit on a couple of things that Jordan hit on. So like they said, please save campus, like the campus police's phone number because they are gonna be like your second, like they're gonna be your immediate. If an RA doesn't answer the phone, if you're trying to get into a building, if something goes down that's not, like he said, that's not life threatening, that you're like, okay, but we still need somebody here. Campus police is for that. They're gonna give you like the rundown of campus police, especially if you're in housing, and you're gonna get like a deeper aspect into campus police and what that means for your school. For our school, it means everything. Our campus police isn't just, hey, we're kind of security, we're kind of just gonna be floating around. Our campus police is there from everything from I can't get into the gate with my key card to hey, I'm kind of feeling uneasy. Can you come get somebody? Like they're there for everything. If you're feeling a campus police escort, I was really that person. Our campus for a minute didn't have lights, and so if I saw our campus has golf carts, if I saw police on a golf cart, I'd be like, "Hey, I don't even have to get on the golf cart. If you could just ride next to me to make sure I'm okay and I get where I gotta go." And then always inform someone you trust of where you're going and when you're going somewhere. In orientation, they're probably going to give you this if your campus has one. Our campus has something called Rave Guardian. It is an app that when you're going from place to place, if you press a button, if you ever disengage that button before getting to your location, it will send a ping to our police to say, hey, this is where this person was last seen. Go check on them. Rave Guardian is your second support. So you have the police phone number, you can ask for a police escort, or for us, we have Rave Guardian. So just always pay attention to those resources to make sure that you're as safe as you can be within your own hands on campus.
Okay, just to wrap up, I know we have a few questions in the chat that we can touch on really quickly. How do you make a good, efficient study schedule? Any tips and tricks, how you've been doing it so far?
One thing I would have to say is I completely agree with Jordan's method of mapping out, like figuring out a day that you're like, okay, let me sit down and look at everything I have to do for the week and write that down and figure out where my priorities should lie for the week. If I know I should be having a more homework or study heavy day this day, then I need to make sure I have that in place. Um, for me, I have calendars everywhere. You can't see them, but I have one on each side of my desk. One is like for school stuff and one is for business and everything else. And that has really helped me with keeping up with, okay, I know I have this day. Planners really helped me in my freshman and sophomore year. I would write down everything. I wouldn't get a planner. I'd get like a day-to-day planner where it let me write down everything. So I had so many lines so I could be like, hey, these are the classes I have to take. These are the assignments due that day, but this is also extra stuff I got to get done.
Yeah, I'm very digital when it comes to kind of how I stay organized, especially with my calendars. So I use Google Calendar, which also connects to my Notion, which is very great for creating checklists and other stuff to kind of just keep yourself organized. So that's how I kind of can see which days I should really, I have more time compared to other days where I have a lot of classes or clubs. And also another tip that I kind of have, or kind of a, thing that I would point out is that you definitely have to be a little more flexible day to day on what time you're going to be studying. So you might not have 7 p.m. free every single night because you might have a general meeting for a club. So I would definitely, be aware of what days you have things at what times. So you can really plan out, a few weeks ahead, kind of when you're going to study for those weeks or for those days.
Yeah, I think mapping it out is the best way to do it. I agree with Chase when it comes to the digital. There's another question that just kind of like falls right on here. It says, what other platforms are similar to Google Calendars that I could sync on all devices that I might use for my classes and events? If you use Android, then Google is perfect for me. I use iCloud for everything. Like iCloud has everything. I also have an Apple Watch, so I get reminders on my wrist. I get reminders on my phone. If you have a Mac, you'll get reminders on your laptop or anything like that. iCloud is really good. I also use what's called My Study Life. It's like a digital calendar or like a digital agenda. You can put it in. You can like put times. You can put categories and stuff. And from there, you can kind of like map out, hey, this is due here. I have this due in a couple days. It's called My Study Life. It's something that I personally also use. And then people also use Outlook. Outlook, I know everyone should have an Outlook when you get your school email. It also has a calendar option that you can use if that's something that it works better for you. But I mean, you can look up multiple that like connect in multiple different areas. But for me, iCloud has everything. It's constantly letting me know when I have things. So that's what I currently use as of right now.
And I wanted to agree with Jordan on that. I also use my iCloud. My Apple ecosystem is good for letting me know, hey, 15 minutes before you're supposed to be doing that thing you're doing. But when I transitioned into my later classification, so like my junior and my senior year, is when I really got attached to using things like GoodNotes and my Outlook. And even if you don't use things like Outlook and just want to use like a regular calendar, whatever your school, whatever platform your school uses to like conduct coursework, so whether it's D2L or Canvas or Blackboard or anything like that, they have features where you can sync everything into like your course calendars straight from your syllabus or straight from the course calendar. You can sync that to your phone calendar or your laptop calendar or anything like that. So it kind of keeps you on top of everything.
Okay, we'll wrap it up with one more. So for my older students, is there anything, I have a student that says, I'm currently a freshman in my second semester of college. Is there anything additional that I should know moving forward into the next few years? Anything that you didn't know your freshman year that you know as a sophomore, junior, senior in college, Marilise and Jordan?
I would say advocate for yourself. That was my biggest thing. We talked about advisors and advising. I don't get me wrong, I loved my advisor. Like transitioning into my first semester and then like going further after that. But one thing I say is big is advocating for yourself. We talked about how like different learning styles may mean different classes, may mean the order you take your classes in are different if possible. Don't let your advisor just put you in random classes. If you know, hey, that's probably not a class I should be taking right now, don't let them put you in that class. And don't wait until add drop or withdraw with an F, which is worse than a withdraw, to say, hey, I probably shouldn't really be taking this class right now. So advocate for yourself, whether it's with your academics or like we said, like holding yourself accountable and kind of pulling yourself back from extracurriculars or event or going to events every day and every night and things like that.
Mine would be don't create a plan and think that if it doesn't go as that plan that was created that you like failed or messed up. I promise you, you're going to think your story is going to go some way and it might hit a backflip and then do a 360 and then do another loop. Like life is going to throw wrenches and stones and things are going to change, especially in college, just because of how it is. And it's good to have a plan and a path that you can follow, but you might diverge off that. That might change, and that's okay because that's all part of the process. I know for me, I like saw this clear vision of what I wanted, and I said I'm going to start here and I'm going to end here, and it's going to look just like this. And then it moved a little bit, and I got nervous, and I'm like, that's not the plan. And I kind of, sideswiped and, like I said, the loop and the 360. And I'm thinking, wow, like I'm really messing up. And in reality, I was just growing and my life was changing, but change is not bad. Change is good. And it gave me the opportunity to be at the place I am right now. And just understand like the journey will not be a straight line. It's going to be all over the place, but the destination is what's going to matter in the end.
I think that is all very great, very sound advice. I think that's all the time we have for questions right now. If we didn't get to your question and you have something that you're curious about, feel free to email the Collegiate Council inbox. It's just collegiatecouncil@nshss.org. And we can answer some more questions there. If you're interested in our leadership groups, we have our ambassadors, which are our high school students, our collegiate council, our undergraduate students, and then our postgraduate professional members are in our fellows program. So you can read about all of those groups on our website as well. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate all of our lovely panelists for joining us. You guys did an amazing job. Like I said, if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot us an email and we'll get back to you usually within 1 to 2 days. Yeah, thank you all so much. Have a great evening. Bye.